Now here we'll start to talk about Chapter 5, Continuous Process Improvement, and this is Part 1. And here we're talking about quality-based organizations should strive to achieve perfection. It's impossible by continuously improving the business and production processes. So in order to improve quality, you need to look at your processes. And you see these processes, how can you improve them? And continuous process improvement is designed to utilize the resources of the organization to achieve a quality-driven culture. So once everyone in the organization starts to think that we can improve quality by improving the processes, then small improvement can happen in many different processes. And that's how all the people start to have this culture of quality and how can we improve. And that's what's going to drive quality-based organizations. And improvement is made by making all processes effective, efficient, and adaptable. Do you understand what we mean by efficient? Efficient means you use the minimum resources to achieve your goal. And effective, it means you actually hit your goal correctly. And adaptable, it means you can adapt it, you can change it based on the context. So if you make all of these processes more effective, more efficient, and more adaptable, then you can have improvement. Anticipating changing customer needs. You always want to watch what customers will want, and you start to adapt that in your processes. So a good process is improved by looking what customer wants. And you want to investigate activities that do not add value. So any activity that you have that doesn't add value to the customers, then maybe you want to eliminate these activities. And you want to innovate, continuous innovation, and incorporate lessons learned into future activities. Now let's take an example of a process. And I'll take an example of, let's say, KFC. Do you guys know KFC? Now in KFC, you go to the restaurant, you make an order, and then you pay for it, and then you wait for the food, and then you take your food and you sit. This is how the process of ordering inside KFC and many other restaurants do use the same method. Now, if we look at this process of ordering, then you want to improve it. So you'll start to see how can we be more effective in ordering or in delivering the food for customers who walk into a KFC. Then maybe you want to anticipate what customer needs. Now, customer needs, maybe you start to look at customers' need to quickly. So the customers want to spend less time in this order process. So we started to look and we do this drive-through. Did you see the drive-through? Now here, the drive-through is do the same thing as if you walk into the restaurant. But in the drive-through story, people will be on their car and they will reach this window, pick up their food and leave. So they don't have to leave their cars. Maybe people, it will accommodate people's needs. Maybe people will not have to worry about finding a parking spot. They don't want to walk. They don't need to walk from a parking spot to order and go back to their cars to leave and pick up their food. So here we got this new idea of drive-through. Anyone have tried the drive-through? Okay. Now you can see that it is becoming more effective. And it is also becoming more efficient, and it is adaptable because it adapts to people's needs. And for the business, they can adapt easily where they open a window, where cars can drive through and pick up the food. And it anticipates changing customer needs. Customers need to, easily, on their way back from work to home to pick up food. And it investigates activities that do not add value. So here, maybe it doesn't add value, inside. So here we've got this new value. And then you want to start to see how can you remove any non-added value services or products. And there is an innovation here. And it incorporates lessons learned for future activities. So now if they want to improve this even further, maybe they want to do a mobile application. So the order will go with a mobile application. Will that be another quality measure improvement? Yeah, it will be another quality measure improvement. So they can make this mobile application where people can just send the order in and then maybe the mobile application will tell them, when it will be picked, or how long it will take to be ready for pickup. So here, this can be maybe more effective because people will be able to see the menu. They will be very accurate in terms of their order. Probably the amount of mistakes will be less. And at the same time, it adapts to people needs. People have mobile phones, people use mobile applications, so they can use that. And it can anticipate customer needs, because the customers need to be able to quickly send their order. Maybe they can have on the mobile application a saved order, because people will order the same thing every time. So it can be like an easy, my favorite menus, and then you just hint, and then you just hit send. And then investigating the activities that do not add value. So you start to see how can you make this mobile application very easy. Anything that is complicating the job, you remove it. This way it is very easy for customers to use. And this will be an example of innovation, and it incorporates lessons learned into future activities. Are you guys okay with this? Next, we've got this idea of continuous process improvement. And the idea of continuous process improvement is process refers to business and production activities of an organization. So you understand the word process. And an input is any material, money, information, data. Okay. Output, it's a product or service that comes out of this process. And then outputs require performance measures. They are designed to achieve certain desirable outcomes, such as customer satisfaction. So at the end, you want customers to be happy. And the feedback is provided in order to improve the process. Are you guys okay with this idea of process definitions of terms? Now, a process is the interaction of some combination of people, material, equipment, method, measurement, and the environment to produce an output such as product or service. So you understand what's a process. Now, of course, if you look at the KFC example, they have a lot of processes. They have a process where the customer order and then they deliver. They have another process which is to cook, let's say, the chicken. So here, how do they cook the chicken? They probably have a process. It says, you get the chicken, you put it in the fryer, maybe you turn it on, you wait 15 minutes, and then you get it out, it's ready. So here we've got those small processes that makes up the entire KFC business. Maybe they have a process on how to clean the facility, maybe, or a process for security checks, maybe a process for control, process for accounting procedures. So we have a lot of small processes in every business, and these processes, their interaction with people, material, equipment, makes up the product or service and outcomes. In addition, to have a measurable input and output, the process must have value-added activities. So every single process should add value to the overall system. And it must be effective, efficient, and under control and adaptable. So you can adapt it to customer needs over time. Process as a definition begins with defining internal and external customers. So you want to make sure you understand who are your internal customers and your external customers. You guys know the difference between internal and external customers? Internal customers are your employees, the people that you have to service so they can provide services to the external customers. And the customers define the purpose of the organization and every process within it. So these customers will define all of these processes. Customers want to be able to do drive-through, then we've got this process for the drive-through. Customers want to have a meal inside the restaurant with their families, then we have a process for families to sit and be able to enjoy their meal. All processes have at least one owner and one person is performing the activity. So maybe when it comes to the ordering, there is a cashier responsible. When it comes to the kitchen, there is a chef responsible. When it comes to the services or cleaning of the facility, there is one person responsible. And this ownership should be part of the process improvement initiative. So the person who is actually the cashier, or the person who's the chef inside the kitchen, or maybe the person responsible for cleaning or maintaining the place, these people, they should be part of this process improvement. And there are 5 basic ways to improve a process. Number 1, you want to reduce resources. So if I have this process, how can I improve it? There are 5 ways on this slide on how to improve a process. You can improve process by you reduce resources. So instead of you use a lot of paper, you use less paper. Instead of you use a lot of oil, you use less oil. Instead of you use a lot of material cleaning detergents, you use less. So here we've got more resources than necessarily is wasteful. Reducing errors. Now you don't want to make mistakes. So if the cashier makes mistakes, that's not good. So how can we improve this process? That's by maybe we have a small screen so the customer can see their order. This way we have less errors. That's why on the mobile application it will show you this is your order and maybe show you a picture. This way you make less mistakes. Now the less mistakes you have, errors are sign of poor workmanship and it requires rework. So you don't want to have a lot of reworks. So you want to have less errors. Number 3, you want to meet or exceed expectations of customers. So in order to improve, if you can exceed customer expectations, that becomes a good improvement. Customers did not expect they can get the food or while they're on their car. Now they can get the food on their car. That's a good improvement for the process of ordering. Make the process safer. Safer workplace is a more productive, less accidents and less workers' compensation claims. So if you want to improve, you can start to look at areas where you can make the process safer. So how can we make less chances of being damaged? That's why we start to see, on the coffee, they write they're hot, because this would be maybe safer. Sometimes some companies, they will say, okay, this is coffee, be careful, it's hot. This warning kind of prevent any not very safe practices. So these elements can make the process to be safer, and this is an example of an improvement. And then you want to make the process more satisfying to the person doing it. You don't want people to do things that are very boring. So how can we make the work more enjoyable? Maybe make it more, do you know what we mean by ergonomically correct? For example, if people can stand in a good position, that's good. But if they have to do this or they have to do that, then it can, affect their back, or they become tired quickly. You don't want that. So if you can make it more satisfying to the person, then it can make substantial changes in the person's attitudes towards work. For example, if you go to maybe KFC, maybe the way the machines work, the amount of energy required to do the certain activities inside the kitchen, they are acceptable amount of effort that employees have to exert in order to get the job done. And the easier it is for people to do, the better the job. So these 5 basic ways to improve a process. Are you guys okay with these 5? So you make it less resources, less waste, less errors, higher expectations, safer, and the last one, more satisfying. This chapter presents several different approaches towards continuous process improvement. We've got here Juran triology. It's approach quality improvement from a cost-oriented perspective. And we have Showhart PDSA, Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, which is basically an engineering scientific method applied to continuous improvement. And we have the concept of Kaizen. Kaizen is another approach towards continuous process improvement, hence a Japanese approach to improvement. Now, those 3, that's what the rest of this chapter will talk about, these 3. So we will start with the first one, Juran. Now, Juran, his idea says that one of the best approaches is to follow those 3 components. 3 components. Number 1, you need to do good planning. And then you do good control, and then you do good improvement. So that's his triology. Those 3 will make up all of the process improvement. So what it says basically is make a plan to improve, check it, make sure it's controlled, and then improve it, and continuously go back to planning. So planning is you make a good budget. Control, it's an expensive measurement to check. And then improvement, how can you reduce this cost? So under planning, he said, number one, you want to determine the customer. Begin with the customer. Then all organizational personnel determine the internal customers. Once customers are determined, their needs are discovered. So according to him, plan starts from customer. Then what customers need, what internal customers need, and then that's where you start the improvement. Number two, you want to determine the requirements. Their needs should be translated to requirements that are measurable to the organization and its suppliers. So you measure what is required. And number three is you develop product, service that will respond to customer needs, meet the needs of the organization and suppliers, and the competitive and optimized costs. So here you start to develop the products and services. So that's when, you see customers, they want a faster order. What do they exactly need? And then you start to make that fast delivery maybe. Develop a process to make the product, and you transfer plans to operations. The control, it means you use the feedback loop. Do you know what we mean by feedback loop? Feedback loop, it consists of the following steps. You determine item subjects to be controlled and the unit of measurement. So maybe we want to check how many customers order and how much time it takes between the time the customer order and the customer pick up of the food, let's say in KFC example. And then you start to set goal. For example, currently it takes 10 minutes for the order to be delivered. So maybe we want to have a goal, and we don't want it in 10 minutes, we want it only in 5 minutes. And then you start to measure this actual performance. So you start to say, okay, we're going to do this delivery, and we're going to try to make it faster. So let's measure it now after we have done some improvement. And then you compare your actual with your goal. So the actual is today is 7 minutes, and our goal is 5. So we still have an area to improve. Can we make it faster? Action on the difference, and then you see there is a still difference. Now what action can we do? Now one of the examples is what they did in I think it's McDonald's restaurant, and this idea of drive-through. See, the drive-through, you walk into the first window, and on the first window you will see sometimes a screen. Now here you don't see a screen, right? But sometimes they do their screen, so the customer can actually see what they are ordering, and they can also see the total price. This is to reduce the amount of mistakes possible or errors. And then after they make the order, they drive to the window where they pick up the food. So what McDonald's did is that they noticed that it's still taking a lot of time. And they noticed what is the bottleneck or where is the problem. The person who picks up the phone and takes the order. These people, sometimes they're not fast enough. And they need to train. They need to do a lot of training for these people across all of their branches in order to be able to pick up the phone and take the orders faster, punch them into the system, and send them to the kitchen order. So they decided they want to do a centralized. So they have this one center in Colorado where all of the calls, they go to this one city, one office. They have a lot of call center. It receives all of these orders, process them, and send them to the kitchen. And they thought this can save us, a few minutes. Now you take those few minutes, you multiply it by the number of orders they have per day, per branches, it becomes a big number of minutes saved. So that's idea of control is that they need to check, and then if it works, great. If not, then they need to act. And then they start to do this improvement, and it begins with the establishment quality council. So the quality council will be responsible, or the first people to initiate this. And two of the duties of the council is to identify improvement projects. So this will be like an improvement project. We want to reduce the number or amount of time the customer takes to order. And then we want to identify these projects, establish product team. So there will be some team responsible and a project owner. And then the problem-solving methods, which is described later, may be applied to improve process, while the Quality Council is the driver that ensures improvement is continuous and never-ending. So this is the improvement. Now, the improvement also includes 4 improvement strategies. Let's look at the improvement strategies. Number one, you want to choose the right strategy for the right situation, and that's critical. And it's also true that proper integration of the strategy will produce never-ending improvements. So here are 4 methods to improve. Do you guys understand those 4? Now you can improve by 1, repair. So if it's broken, you repair it. So that's an improvement. Number 2, you refine. It is going, you want to just make it better a little bit. Renovate, you want to kind of refix it so that it works better. And then reinvent, where you take this out and you bring in something new. Are you guys okay with this? So repair, it means it's broken, you fix it. So it's the same thing, it's just broken, you fix it. And then refinement, the way it is, you just make it, maybe refined. Reinvent is that maybe you change it, okay, or you renovate, and then you reinvent. That's, you take it out, you bring in something new. Repair, anything broken must be fixed. 2 levels. There's a temporarily, if a customer receive a damaged product, for example, you have a quick fix to as required. Or permanent, occurs when an individual or team identifies and eliminate the root causes of the problem and affects a permanent solution. It's important to note that the repair strategy does not make the process better than the original design. So the repair, we just fix what's broken. It doesn't really improve the process that you have. And then the other one, refinement. Here it involves activities that continually improve a process that is not broken. Rather, it improves maybe more efficient or maybe more effective. And it should become an integral part of every employee's job. And both individuals and team can use this strategy. So, and it relies on doing things just a bit quicker, better, faster, or less waste. So this is the process. So can we make it, a little bit, faster or, quicker? And then organization programs such as process improvement teams, suggestion systems, and empowerment, these good for repair and refinement. And they provide the mechanism for activities aimed at making these 2 strategies a part of a daily work life. So you want people on every day, they know how to refine and how to repair. Now, on the other hand, we also have number 3, which is this renovation. Renovation is a strategy results in a major. Here we have a major breakthrough improvement. And the process of drilling a hole was originally done by hand with a cranking mechanism. With the advent of the electric motor, the electric drill was born. So remember, if you want to make a hole, let's say a hole on the wall, in the old days, you need to get some special, maybe you get some sort of a nail and a hammer, and you start to dig a hole. But now maybe we want to re-innovate it. And that's when we, fix it where there's a drill. So with the drill, this becomes another way to improve. And it's a renovation strategy. Renovation strategy. And then the reinvention, that is most demanding improvement strategy. So you always want to reinvent. And the reinvention, it begins by imagining what the previous conditions doesn't exist. In other words, a clean sheet of paper. Then the team uses in-depth knowledge of the customer requirement and expectations and invents a new product, service, or process activity. And the example is process of drilling holes using lasers or water jets using a reinvention. So remember, you want to make a hole on the wall, so you can do with a hammer and nail, or maybe you can use the driller. But now if you want to do a completely reinvention, then maybe we'll use laser. Okay, that's completely. So that's when you start, get a new sheet. Let's do it again from scratch. This way we can do complete improvement. So improvement strategies, repair refinement strategies require all employees have freedom to solve problems and make incremental improvements, while renovation and reinvention are usually more costly. They take longer to accomplish and have greater risk of failure. Of course, if you try to come up with a new laser, maybe you fail to dig the hole. Are you guys okay with these? Now let's look at the different types of problems. There are 5 types of problems. There's a compliance, unstructured, and efficiency. There are performance problems where an existing system is not performing satisfactorily. There's a process design and a product design. So these are type of problems. So sometimes, let's say you're working in KFC, and now how can we improve? Let's look at where we have problems, and then we start to see what are the types of problems. Now we've got maybe inside KFC there is a problem of compliance. The compliance means that there is you need to, let's say the law says that you have to make your food or refrigerators at temperature of 16 and below, and so here you need to fix that. Maybe there is an unstructured. You just want to add more, flavor or taste, or maybe make your product to be, let's say more healthy, more diet. So this is maybe unstructured. There is no specific law that says this is what you need to do. Efficiency, you want to be more efficient. You want to make more faster. You want to have less waste. And then maybe you want to do there's a problem in the process. Remember, customers, they come, they order, and then they get a number, and then they wait, and sometimes they get the wrong order. So here it's a process problem, because the system says you order and you get a small receipt, and then you go and you pick up your food. So maybe you pick up someone else's. So here, how can we make sure that people will not pick up someone else's? So maybe we need to do a line. So people have to stand on the line, maybe. And then maybe product design. The product itself, it's remember those burgers, now they put them inside a box. Now this box, it's part of this product design. How can you make this product design so if I order 10, I can carry the 10 easily? Because there are boxes that keeps them, in a good order. So maybe that's another example of problem. So here, let's look at these 5 types again. Performance problems usually stimulate by negative customer feedback. Compliance problems occur when structured system not complying with standards. So the standard is 16 degrees of temperature of a refrigerator. You don't meet that, you have a problem. You need to comply. You must determine this root cause. Why is it not reaching this? So maybe you need to fix electricity problem. The refrigerator is old, and you need to fix that. Unstructured problems resemble to compliance problems, but there is the absence of standards. So there is actually no standard. For example, how many calories in each meal? Maybe there is no standard that says this is the maximum or this is the minimum, or if you say this is a diet food, what's the standard number of calories? Maybe there isn't. So here, a major challenge is to determine customer needs and to diagnose the cause of this poor performance. So how can we improve it? And there is no standard. Efficiency problem occurs when the system is performing unacceptable owners or operators' point of view. Too costly, very unsafe. You must reduce the cost and provide maybe safety improvement. So here, this idea of efficiency, we want to improve something, and because customers are not happy or employees are not happy or there's a lot of waste, so we want to increase just efficiency. So that's another type of problem. And next is design problems, usually stimulated by poor performance. So here we've got, it is not performing well, so you want to do some process change. And either you do design the process or you design the product. Processes are not well designed or become obsolete with advances in technology. So maybe here with the help of technology, let's say the mobile applications, we can improve the process of ordering. Instead of you go or you drive, you can just send the message or SMS. So here, because of the technology, we completely change our process. Let's say, for example, like universities, when you sign up for classes, remember the old way of signing up for classes? you have to come here and all the students to register manually. But now the electronic, the communication, online systems, you can everyone register from home. So this is a process design. And a product design is when you change the actual product. So here involve the departments of new products and the improvements of existing products, natural part of competitive environment. So here you develop your product. Are you guys okay with this? Now we finished Duran. Okay? Duran talked about three things. He talked about planning, budgeting, and control, making sure you reduce costs, and improvement. Now the second one is the Showhart PDSA. Do you know what's PDSA? PDSA is like one of the main theories in quality, and basically what the PDSA says is that you need to plan, do, study, act. PDSA, plan, do, study, act. Sometimes they call it PDCA, which is check, act. It's the same thing. Was first developed by Showhart. His cycle was called PDCA. C was the check, and then modified by Deming. Okay, to be just study instead of check. This is the PDCA. Are you guys okay with this? Now this is more like a circle. It goes like this, from here to here, and then from here you go back again. And the idea is you start with planning. Okay, so this is plan. Plan carefully what is to be done, and then you do it, and then you study it. So you study the results. Did the plan work as intended? What the results, were they different or not? And then you start to act on results by identifying what worked as planned and what didn't work. And using the knowledge learned, develop an improved plan, repeat the cycle. It is simple adoption of the more elaborate problem-solving method. Are you guys okay with this? Plan, do, study, act. Okay, so here you learn, you start to do, you double check, and then you start to fix if things didn't improve. That's the end of this chapter.